Alright, back here on the 1978 Toyota pickup. So, I did work on the passenger door a little bit. I got it totally disassembled. I took all of the handles and window regulator, all that stuff off of it. Stripped it down, and it's pretty good. I got the wire wheel on the bottom of it, and yeah, I mean, I think this is going to work. I welded in some of the holes and stuff that were in there, so I just filled in where like the side view mirrors were mounted, and filled in where the trim mounted in, and all along the bottom I wire wheeled it, and no pinholes, no nothing. So there's a couple of scaly spots, but really nothing too bad. So I think that door is going to be just fine. So started taking apart the driver door, and yeah, that shit sucks bad. So I called around. I can get a replacement one for $500, which, that's a lot of cool stuff that you can buy for $500. I mean, that's like a fuel tank and fuel pump and everything, or it's more expensive than a radiator. I mean, I'm already running low on budget, so unfortunately, I don't think that I can stomach $500. If it was like less than half of that, if it was like 200, then I'd probably do it. But I got the sheet metal already, and so it's like all it does is cost me time. So I'm not gonna mess with it right now. I got other work that I can do. If it gets further along, I buy more of the things that I need, then I may decide that it's, better to go ahead and buy one and not deal with all this nonsense. But, the price of stuff so expensive now, I don't think that I can spend $500 on a 50-year-old door that, it's probably not. I mean, we'll need work on it. Like, if I could buy a brand new repop one that was gel coated and like ready to go for like $250, I'd do that in a second. But $500 for a junkyard one, I don't think so. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna punt on this problem for now. I got other stuff I can do. But yeah, I mean, you can see like getting into the door hinge a little bit. There's like 3 layers of metal here. And one of them's totally gone. I mean, this is just completely all the way through. I mean, you can see daylight, not even connected there in the bottom. So I'd have to bend a piece, do the entire bottom. If you can see it's bad here, I'd have to be going all the way up to like here. And then on this other side, if you can see the bubbling here, it's bad to probably like here. And then, this corner piece where they put the, Bondo there, it's all separated. So I'm getting all the way up in here. I'll have to take, wire wheel all that out and see how far back it goes. But I'm definitely at least up to here, which means I'd be replacing all this all the way around. And, probably at least to like right up in here somewhere. I mean, that'd be days of metalwork on just the bottom of the door. So, I don't know. I don't want to do it right now, so I'm not going to. All right, so way more interesting. So I took the front clip off. I took a bunch of measurements all over the place to check the height and the dimensions and everything. Lined up my plumb bob and snapped a line, and you see I got a little mark here, and I got one on the other side. and that's exactly where the center of the axle, or the spindles in this case, is coming through. And so I ran a tape all over the place, and so like where the cab mounts are at, the cross member in the back, off the tank, just measured the hell out of this from all different locations, went across, and this frame is super straight. I put a level on it, like the front is level with the back, the side rails are all level. So even though, you saw when I was working on this that this fender had some damage done to it, that was just, bumper and fender. The frame itself is in great condition. Also, like, this is so awesome that it's completely boxed and welded, which is stupid. This is crazy that, like, it's fully boxed and welded in, which no one does that. So, I mean, it makes sense that these cars are like, last forever. Because full-size pickups, American pickups, were not fully boxing and welding. I restored an old 85 Buick, and it was C-channel like everything else. Like, this is fully boxed and welded the entire length of the entire frame, and it's thick. I mean, you can see here, I mean, that's like 1/4 inch. It's 1/4 inch fully boxed. I mean, I was originally thinking I might have to add some bracing or something for this frame because, it's just a little compact pickup. But, man, they put a gnarly frame on this thing. So this, I don't think I have any concerns whatsoever that this is going to have any flex. Like, for the horsepower goals that I have, like, this frame's going to eat it up. Like, it'll be no problem. So yeah, that's looking awesome. So then wire wheeled around where I got a bunch of work to do to get a Mustang 2 suspension kit on it. So I know a lot of folks will bag these, and then way more folks lift them and off-road them. And so there's all kinds of people that'll do like, 4Runner things underneath them and all that stuff. But, I want a street truck, and, I didn't want to try to get, you could see like these old stamped steel arms. Nobody's going to make tubular arms for this old truck, and if they do, it'll be for off-road. And then, long term, trying to find, spindles and calipers and everything, it's just going to get harder and harder to find parts for this over time. And again, I want a street truck and not what most people do, which is off-road them. And so by going to a Mustang 2, these things are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You want parts for it, and they're just everywhere. So I got the full kit and caboodle. So you see just boxes and boxes of stuff. What's cool is the company's based here in Colorado, so I got to support a local guy. I went down to his shop and, checked everything out. It was really cool. So Full Tilt Street Rods is who I went through. They're in Grand Junction. Super awesome that I found a local guy and just, was able to talk to him and hang out for a little while, which was really cool. I won't show you what's in the back of that quite yet. That's also another exciting piece. So this one here, I got the power rack option with it. So this way I'm not trying to monkey around trying to find steering angle and all that other stuff. You can see, the arms. They've TIG welded that way nicer than I can. That's for damn sure. So, I mean, like, the weld quality on this is really, really nice. So, nice stuff here. Got the ball joints and everything, drop spindles, big old bearings, all the stuff. And so, yeah, pretty excited about this kit. This way I don't need to really, like I said, I don't need to worry about it. I can just, I got a coil-over top hat that's ready for coilovers, and, if I ever want to change anything in the future, since I'm just dealing with Mustang 2, You know, even if that old timer that I talked to, he's out of business, it doesn't much matter. The geometry for these things is so standardized that if I ever wanted to change something in the future, once I get the cross member and the top hats and arms and everything in, like, you know, I should be able to find parts for this forever, which is super cool. So the only thing that I'm going to have to deal with is, you know, these are meant for something that has a wider frame channel. And so I got to get this set right there. And so that don't line up. And so I'll have to do some more measuring and layout, and, you know, I'll do some loose tacking and stuff on there. You know, the guy has a video on putting these in, so I'll be watching the video a couple of more times to make sure that I cut this right. So, you know, under the best case scenario, you know, you buy one of these cross members that's made for the frame you're dealing with, and, you know, they'll notch this out to fit up under here, perfect for your application. But, you know, if we look at my frame, you can see, you know, it comes down and it gets real narrow in that section here. And so, as is typical for anything that I ever do, I found myself quite a problem. You know, we'll see where I end up. It may be a world where I knock that sucker all the way off and, you know, weld it all the way around, gusset it, you know, find some way to stitch that cross member into this space here that's too narrow for it, and see, you know, how well I can stitch that in. Obviously, if I do that and, you know, I cut this off, I still need, you know, the front part of the frame. So, you know, like cab mounts, you know, core support for a radiator and everything. Like, you know, if I knock that off, it's not like I can just ignore this. I still will have some work to do here. The good thing is with that cross member, you know, everything hangs off of it. So if I get that done, you know, the top hats, the arms, the steering, everything, you know, works well off of that cross member. Yeah, and then, you know, I'll obviously put the cab down, make sure the wheels and tires are lined up the way they're supposed to. You know, I'll drop the motor back in there and, you know, make sure that all that is lined up. So, you know, that piece, it's everything. That piece needs to be perfect. And so it needs to be square and level and at the right height. I mean, all that stuff needs to be spot on. So this is going to take me a while. You know, I'm going to be doing lots and lots and lots of measuring before I cut anything. And then it'll be a bunch of fitting and just like fit it in a little bit, check for square. You know, what I'll have to do is pre-assemble the arms and spindles and everything, hang it off of it, look where it's at. I took measurements for like ride height, and I wrote them on the frame as far as, like, you know, when it was at ride height, you know, what was my height that the frame was at before I took all that stuff apart. Obviously, you know, I do want the truck lower, and so that's the sort of stuff I'll need to check is, you know, I don't want my frame to be higher than what it was with the stock stuff on there. I want it to be lower. So yeah, this is a cool, I'd much rather be dealing with this and, you know, figuring out some new stuff and building some cool stuff than monkeying around with that rotten, ugly ass door over there. So yeah, so this is the plan for the front suspension. Probably won't have a video for a bit because, I mean, this is going to take a while for me to even just figure out exactly what I need to do. So yeah, all right, well, that's it for this one. Thanks, have a good one.